Next up, we go to the Big Ten, Ohio State and Penn State. We've got Ohio State here, obviously significant road favorites in Happy Valley, 15.5 on the road, 61.5 the total here against Penn State. Big negative here for Penn State, Conor, is that this is an early game. You know, we always like the atmosphere of a night game, Happy Valley, the whiteout. You're not going to get that here, noon Eastern, because for television purposes, this game's going to be on Fox, and Fox always has their big game of the day at noon with Gus and Joel Klatt. We know that every single week, and that's going to be this game. So that's why it's at noon. It's a Fox game. They got to do what Fox says. They've got to schedule the game when Fox wants it, and that's why it's a noon start on Saturday. So that takes away, I think, some of the home field edge for Penn State. And I don't even think, even if they did have the home field edge, Conor Mack would be enough to save them in this game. Like, I'm at the point where I'm not stepping in front of this juggernaut. I'm not stepping in front of this freight train that is Ohio State and this offense that's led by C.J. Stroud. And this defense that, to me, Conor Mack continues to ball hawk, make plays every week, and get better each and every week. Jim Knowles was a home run defensive coordinator hire. I credit Ryan Day for getting him and bringing him on board after being with Mike Gundy at Oklahoma State. Look what Knowles did with the Oklahoma State defense last year. And now look how Oklahoma State's defense is not nearly as good this year. You know, he's a terrific coordinator. He was brought in here to fix this Ohio State defense, which is what held them back last year. Last year, the offense was every bit as good as it was this year, but the defense was no good for Ohio State last year. But look at the difference we've seen in their defense this year for the Buckeyes. It's a world of difference. They're getting a pass rush. They're covering receivers down the field. They're better along the defensive line. And certainly, I think, in terms of scheming and game planning and all that, Jim Knowles is a step up from what they used to have. You know, they've given up 20 points or less now, 3 straight games, Iowa, Michigan State, and Rutgers. Certainly Sean Clifford and the Penn State offense is going to be a little bit of a greater test here in this game. But when you look at Penn State, yeah, they had bounced back, give them credit, 45-17. But Minnesota without Tanner Morgan, they did do a better job stopping the run than they did against Michigan. Let's give them credit for that. But they still don't view Minnesota as an explosive offense. In fact, there's only one team I view. There's 2 teams, actually, that you could say Penn State played this year that have a somewhat explosive, above-average offense. Purdue, they gave up 31. They barely won that game. And, of course, the Michigan game where they gave up 41 points and they got gashed. So, you know, if you want to step in front of Ohio State, be my guest. I'm not willing to do that here. And let's be honest, on the road, they've only had one true road game this year, Ohio State. They've been at home. Hard to believe that we're talking October 30th this Saturday, and this is only going to be their second road game of the year, Ohio State.
That's what these big schools do.
Yeah.
You know, they don't want to get out until
feast on home cooking, build their resume, build their confidence. But that one road game was at Michigan State, and they laid waste to Michigan State. Plus 412 in total. They outgained Michigan State by 412 yards in that game. It could have been a lot worse than 49-20. I ain't stepping in front of Ohio State. That's all that needs to be said. What do you think here, Conor?
Yeah, I don't know if I can either. I'm going to double back and look. Franklin as a dog even has not been that good. I just think Penn State, I just keep going back to Michigan, just running all over them. And I just see Ohio State doing that. I get it. The only thing Penn State's got going for them is it's at home. And you talked about it's not a night game, right? So I don't know what they can do here. I think Ohio State, it's just, do they cover this number? And can maybe Ohio State get to their team total? I'm not so sure. I don't know what Penn State defense comes to play here, because against the cupcake teams you mentioned. But one thing I brought up last week, Ohio State hasn't, played anybody. I don't know if that defense is that good. I got to really see it until they play Michigan or somebody else. Because I bet you if they played an SEC team, I think they could score some points on this Ohio State defense. So that'll be down the line. So, yeah, I think it's Ohio State or nothing, just in the morning. This is probably a game, me, I don't get involved with.
Yeah, I don't have the exact numbers of James Franklin in the underdog role, but I know it's not good long-term, him at Penn State in the underdog role. It's not been good. And we already saw it in play just a couple weeks ago against Michigan. 7-point dogs, and I got suckered into taking Penn State. And they ended up losing 41-17 to Michigan. But last year, Arkansas underdog, 24-10. They lost in the bowl game. So They have had a bunch of issues in the underdog role, which tells you he does not beat the good teams. He does not beat the absolute best teams, James Franklin. Now, he doesn't have to here. He's getting 15.5 points, but he doesn't even cover against the best teams either.